Hello, friends. This is reading, and we are working on the Piney Ridge snowstorm. And the page we're doing today is page 201. So let me pull it up for you, and we will get started. And there it is. Okay, the Piney Ridge snowstorm. And this is kind of a review or a what do you know about what we've talked about in this story, what we've read in this story. So we're going to put our name and the date at the top. We're going to find out what you know. Find out what you remember. Okay, 1/21/21. And if we look at the directions, it says put an X beside the correct answer. Okay, here we go. And as always, we're going to read our choices first. Our first choice is Paul takes mile-long steps. Paul rides on Babe, or Paul swings from tree to tree. Got those in our mind? Here's the question. How does Paul Bunyan travel from Maine to Minnesota so quickly? How does he travel so fast? If you think it's because he takes mile-long steps, put an X right here. If you think it's because he rides on Babe, put an X right here. And if you think it's because he swings from tree to tree, put an X right here. Okay? Let's go ahead and write test on this. This is a test. Okay. All right. And number 2 says our choices are the wind was very strong. There was a big flood. Or Babe is so large that her trot shakes the ground. Trot is the way she walks. Okay. And the question asks, why does the ground shake like an earthquake? Is it because if you think it's because the wind was very strong, put an X here. If you think there was a big flood, put an X here. If you think Babe is so large that her trot shakes the ground, put an X right here. Okay, and if you don't get any of these, you need to go back, rewind the video a little bit to get the ones that you missed. That's completely okay. Number 3, our choices are they use snowshoes and axes. Babe the blue ox helps them, or they use snow shovels. Okay, those are your choices. The question says, how do the cooks turn Paul Bunyan's pancakes? Now that makes me hungry for pancakes. How do the cooks turn Paul Bunyan's pancakes? Remember, they showed a picture of that in the book. They use snowshoes and axes, or Babe the blue ox helps them, or they use snow shovels. How did they turn those pancakes? If you think they use axes and snow shovels, or snowshoes, excuse me, put an X here. If you think Babe did it, put an X here. If you think they use shovels, put an X there. Okay. Brings us to number 4. Your first choice is Babe hits the ice and breaks it. Second choice, Johnny Inkslinger's tree falls and breaks the ice. Or the lumberjacks use their axes to chop it up? And here's the question. How does the ice on the river break? If you think Babe hits the ice and breaks it, put an X here. If you think Johnny Inkslinger's tree falls and breaks it, put a check or an X there. If you think the lumberjacks use their axes to break it, put an X there. Okay. And number 5, your choices are a rainstorm comes and fills the river, or Paul gets water by melting the snow, or Babe spits the water back into the river. Ew. The question says, how does the river fill back up with water? Remember, Babe sucked all the water up. She drank all the water to make the water dry, or the river dry. But how does the water get back in? If you think a rainstorm does it, put an X here. If you think Paul gets the water by melting the snow, put an X here. If you think Babe spits the water back into the river, put an X here. And I'm not doing anything in that river if she spits it back up, just so you know. Okay, that's the end of that one. So if you need to rewind the video to get some of those answers, that's fine. Please don't work ahead. Please don't work on this page. We'll do that page tomorrow. Okay, and we will need to do that one together. It's about sequencing. So for now, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording, and I will see you for spelling shortly.